Okay, welcome back. Here we go. So this mysterious last thing in the circle of fifths that I want you to show you is probably the most valuable thing that this shows us. And what it is something called closely related keys, or sometimes we call them modulation keys. And what that means is the keys with the most in common to each other. And the circle of fifths shows us that. If we are in the key of C, there are two keys that we could go to in which we would only really have to change one note. And that would be the one on either side of it. So it would be G or F. Those are only one note different. And you might say, wait, wouldn't D be the most logical? Because it's like right above it. Or even C sharp because it's just above it. And you would be wrong. Actually, the closest related key to C is G or F. Now, let me explain why, and let's look at our piano grid to explain why. So let's make this nice and big, and let's draw out the C major scale. So the pattern, I don't really need to count out the pattern because the C major scale is just the white notes. But let's count out the pattern anyway because we're going to need it in a minute. So whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Lovely sound there. Oh, let's do that. Okay, so there is our C major scale. All the notes of the C major scale. Now let's do what we might think is going to be the closest related key. And well, actually, let me jump back. I think I skipped something that I wanted to say that's important. And that is, why do we care about closely related keys? The reason we care is because if we're making a track and we're in the key of C major and we're like, okay, this is cool. We've got all our chords laid out using the diatonic chord progression. And we say, these are the chords that work in this key. But none of them work for what we're really hearing. What we really want to do is something different. We say, none of those C major key chords work great. Where else can I go? Could I go out of key a little bit? Could I borrow from another key? Your best bet would be to use one of the neighboring keys. So if we're in the key of C and we say, well, all of those chords are boring, they're not the one I really want, then try the chords in the key of G or the chords in the key of F. If you're in the key of A, try the chords in the key of D or the key of E. Gets you more possibilities. If you want to just modulate to a new key, if you want to go totally to a new key, going from something like, if we're in the key of G and we want to modulate to a new key, going to C won't be very extreme. It'll be like, okay, that makes sense. That's a cool key change. It's not like, whoa, like hitting you over the head, extreme key change. An extreme key change would be going all the way across D sharp, D flat. That's an extreme key change because the amount of notes in common are almost none. So we want to find chords with keys with common notes. So let's duplicate this. And let's say, what if we looked at C sharp? So I'm going to nudge everything up a half step. Okay. How many notes in common do these keys have? Key of C and the key of C sharp. They have that note in common, F, and they have C in common. That's it. So even though it's only a half step away, it's the closest possible key when it comes to the root of the key. It's actually quite far away because it only has two notes in common with the actual key. But let's go to the key of G. Hold on for this sound for a second. Okay. Now we're in the key of G. Now I'm going to take these notes and I'm going to flip them up an octave so that they're in line with our C. Actually, no, I'm not going to do that because that's just a little bit more confusing. So let me just put a space in between there so we can separate out what is our C and what is our G. And let's just make this nice and big here so we can see all of it. Perfect. Okay, let's see how many notes these have in common. Is there a C? Yes. Is there a D? Yes. Is there an E? Yes. Is there an F? No. So F is not in common. And is there an F sharp in C? No, there's not. So the F is different. So that's one note different. Is there a G? Yes. Is there an A? Yes. Is there a B? Yes. And is there a C? We already determined that yes, there is a C. So that's the only note different. It's just one note different. The F, in order to get from a C, the key of C to the key of G, all we have to do is that. Now we're the key of G. So it's just one note different. What about the key of F? Okay, now we're in the key of F here and the key of C here. How many notes are in common? There's a C, there's a D, there's an E, there's an F, there's a G. Is there an A? Yes. Is there a B? No. There's an A sharp instead of a B. And then is there a C? Yes, we've already determined that. So for the C, the key of C, to turn into the key of F, this B has to go down to an A sharp. But that's it. So there's only one note that has to change for those to turn into each other. So that's why these are closely related keys. When you're looking at all your possible chords, we could borrow one from the neighboring keys on the circle of fifths. So that's why this is important. If you want to do an extreme chord or a key change in a song, then go far away from where you are in the circle of fifths. If you want to do a subtle key change, stay close to where you are in the circle of fifths. Sometimes we can even go two away, and it's not all that weird. So from C to B flat or to D, let's compare C to D. How about that? Before we compared C to C sharp. Okay, here we go. Plug your ears for a second. There we go. I actually kind of love that sound in a weird way. So let's compare these. So is there a C? Nope. There's no C in the key of D. There's a C sharp though. Okay, so let's remember that for a minute because that's one. There is a D. There is an E. Is there an F? Nope, but there is an F sharp, so that's two. Is there a G? Yes. Is there an A? Yes. And is there a B? Or is there an... Oh, wait, that should be a B. Remember, we changed that to an A sharp in the previous one. So that should be a B for the key of C. So yes, there is a B. So in order to get a C chord, the key of C into the key of D, what we need to do is take the C and raise it up a half step. And I have two of them here, so I'm going to do that. And we need to raise the F up a half step. Now it's all the same notes. So that has two notes different in that one. So it's still kind of closely related. And you can kind of follow that pattern. Every step away that you get will be one more note different. So to go from C to G, you're going to add one note. And it's going to be one note has to go sharp, and it's an F in this case. If you go to D, you're going to have to make two notes sharp. If you go to A, three notes will have to be raised. And if you go to E, take a guess, say it out loud, four notes. You got it. So four notes have to go up. If we want to go to F, one note has to go down. So one note has to be flatted. If you want to go to B flat, two notes have to be flatted. Three notes, or to E flat, three notes have to be flatted, etc. as we go down. So that is why the circle of fifths is important. It tells us when we're writing good places to go and not so good places to go, which doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad place to go. And by go, I mean transition to in the next part of the song. Like you're in your track, you're getting to the bridge, and the bridge you're like, I want to just be totally weird here. I want this to sound like we've just jumped into a whole new world. And if that's what you want, and you're in the key of G, you're going to say, okay, I'm going to go to B flat minor. That's just as far away as I can get. That's going to have like almost no notes in common, and it's just going to sound weird. It's going to sound like we've jumped to a different planet. And that's totally cool. You can totally do that if that's the sound you want. If you get to another section of the song and you're like, I want to do a key change here. I want to switch to something, but I want it to be not like a hit you over the head kind of key change, but just kind of a shift. Then you're going to say, okay, well, I'm in the key of G. Let's go to D, maybe A, try out A, see how that sounds. Maybe C and maybe F. These ones are safe. They're going to sound good. F is going to sound a little different, but it's still not too far away. A, maybe even E. That gets pretty far away from G, but you can make it work. That one's trickier. Once you get that far away, you start getting into this is going to sound weird territory. But that is the most valuable thing to the circle of fifths to us as producers, is both coming up with new chords to use in a chord progression that are maybe outside of the key, and also coming up with a key change if we want to do a complete key change. Okay, so that's it for the circle of fifths. For now, we're going to next look at an analysis where we have to use one of these borrowed chords from another key. So I'll see you in the next little analysis. Hey everyone, I know I said we were done with this video, but I just rewatched that video to make sure that I said everything I needed to say, and I realized there's one thing I forgot to say that's important, and I couldn't find a good place to splice it in, so I'm just gonna throw it at the end here. And it's really short, and what it is don't forget about minor keys. If we're in the key of G, a good place to modulate would be D, but also B minor would be just as good as D, because remember, these are relatives. So this to get from a G chord to a D chord, or sorry, the key of G to the key of D, we only have to add one sharp from where we are in G. So that's only one note away because it's right next to each other. So is B minor, only one note that we have to change to get to it, right? Because these two are relatives, which means no notes have to change. They're right on top of each other. But going from G to A minor means only one note has to change. So don't forget that minor chords are a good place to go too. So if we're in the key of C and we want to change to another key, the most subtle places we could go would be F, D minor, and let's not forget about A minor. That's the most subtle change we could make. E minor and G. Those are our happiest places to go because they make a smiley face, sort of, kind of, sort of. Okay, don't forget about the minor chords. On to the next lesson.